I always loved leg day.
I'm sure you did.
We'll do some hundreds. See how you feel about that.
All right.
I'm not sure Mike understands that because you haven't put him on a real leg day yet that he's finished.
Well, yeah.
Wow, we would have never believed this. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on Google. Go out there and listen to us. So we're excited about it. We're glad you're excited about it too.
Hey everyone, welcome to Muscle Matters. So glad to be back. It's a privilege to always get to do this show with Tom and Steve. And yeah, we're just going to kick it off. We're just going to have a conversation about some random things. Steve,
Random?
Yeah, random muscle
Muscles
matters.
matter.
They do.
Right?
They do matter.
Especially the main one, legs.
Yeah, we're talking about leg day today. I get scared just talking about leg day.
But
Not my leg day like today, but 40 years ago.
So before we get going, Steve, tell them where they can get your awesome supplements.
Stop by and check me out. We're located at 7420 District Boulevard, right across the street from Nestle Ice Cream. Look forward to special discount if you come in Hoochie Daddy shorts for the rest of the week.
Hoochie Daddy
So
Yes.
does that apply to me too?
Yeah, if you wear Hoochie Daddy shorts, I'll give you a discount.
Okay.
I think I do somehow get a
Yes.
special discount
Yeah,
anyway.
I don't know how.
What's a Hoochie Daddy?
You might know
short?
somebody that might know somebody.
I might know somebody.
What's Hoochie Daddy?
5 inches. Yes, quads have to be on display.
Oh,
I don't think I can do
Since
that.
it's a leg day episode,
I don't have the legs for that, you know.
who said? You never know. Pull them up. You never know.
All right, I'll pull them up right now.
I love it. Steve, what's new in the industry for supplements? What's new?
Not much is new. They're just reinventing things.
Oh, wow.
Mushrooms, they've been around since.
Yeah.
So they're using psychedelics for workout.
Well, not
supplements
so
now.
much psychedelics, because that's the first thing when they were
Right,
when
yeah,
they were talking
mushrooms,
mushrooms. I was like, "Hey, cool! I did that in high school."
Right?
I don't want to work out with those.
No, that doesn't sound like a good idea.
But they're just it's different herbs that do different things. You've got a couple different mushrooms that help with cognitive thinking, blood flow. What they're doing is because the government is doing a lot of banding on so many synthetic type of herbs and products, not herbs but synthetic products.
Banding or banning?
Banning. My bad. Forgive
No.
me. Got a thick, heavy accent. Y'all forgive me. But what it is just there's so many things, and so the industry is having to reinvent the wheel without reinventing the wheel. So everything like ephedrine became 1,3-dimethyl, became DMMA. So they're just all cousins of. So they just and what ends up happening is the Breaking Bad. Okay, Breaking Bad. Everybody's watched Breaking Bad. You know, you've got he created this blue that everybody loved.
Yeah.
Well, then the blue gets banned. So what happens in the industry is everybody creates a blue. There's a great pre-workout that everybody loves, and then it's banned, and everybody's like, "Oh man, that's really horrible."
Yeah.
So now you've got somebody who's really smart who instead of a Y makes it an X, instead of a X makes it a B, but they're all related because they run on the same tree.
Okay.
So there's nothing really ever new under the sun.
Never.
Yeah.
It's just simply,
That's what Tom always says.
It's just simply being reinvented and relabeled. Like the big talk right now is peptides. Peptides are just things that your body naturally occurs.
And they work.
And
Thank you, Steve.
And they're derivatives of HGH.
Uh-huh.
So you can't have HGH, but you can have a peptide because it's naturally occurring.
It's the same thing.
Bingo. Pow. So it's not that there's a new wheel. I've just figured how to make it roll.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I remember back when I was like in my early 20s, which you guys were. I think Tom was in his early 50s back then.
Yeah,
I
I
had
was.
grandkids already.
But it was Hydroxycut was like
Yes.
the big thing. Everyone took
Yes.
Hydroxycut. It was basically meth,
Yeah.
right? But
The funny thing is there was actually a pre-workout. It was called Craze. It was when I first opened one of my first stores. Golly, 11 years ago. I've been doing this for a while now.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So opened up another store under a different name, and it was this pre-workout called Craze.
Uh-huh.
People would not touch anything but Craze. I mean, I could be out and be, hey, this one's just as good. No, I don't. It's got to be Craze. It's got to be Craze. It's got to be Craze. Turns out Breaking Bad is the guy who made Craze.
really,
He went to jail for being a chemist who created meth.
Yeah, I'm telling you,
Yeah.
the two guys that did my drugs were Dan Duchesne and Jeff Feliciano. Both went to jail, but they were. I mean, Dan Duchesne still holds. He's dead now, but he still holds the steroid guru.
Yes.
That was, and Jeff Feliciano.
He was the original.
Oh, he was. I mean, ESPN, they have a
Do you know how much his book is worth?
Uh-uh.
Oh, go down a rabbit hole one day and see how much his original
No
book
way.
is worth.
I think, well.
You probably have it at your
I'll
house.
bet my wife threw it away.
Yes.
I mean,
You
Dan.
didn't think she did? She probably sold it on eBay, Tom.
Yeah, 'cause it's worth money on eBay.
well, Dan and Jeff did my drugs,
Yes.
and Dan did an article on me with hundreds. That was Dan Duchesne that did the article in Flex magazine, because once they got out of jail, they became writers for Flex and Muscle and Fitness.
But I remember that hydroxy cut, right? Vince, my roommate at the time, I don't think you know him. Tom knows him well. He was at the point where he was addicted to hydroxy cut, and he was like, "I gotta have my hydroxy cut." And I was like,
Because it was meth.
Yeah, I took it and I poured it down the toilet and threw it away.
Did he try to fight you?
Oh, yeah.
Because you poured his meth away.
He was livid, dude, and he still remembers that.
What ended up happening is Dan Duchesne. You've got people like Dan. So like the guy Craze, it was one molecule. I'll wrap this story up real quick, come back to yours. It was one molecule away from actually being meth, and so it got banned.
Yeah.
So that's what happened to it. It was legitimately.
That's usually why they do that.
Yeah,
Right.
it got banned right away. But Dan was the one who opened the door for people that were biochemists
Yes, he was.
to look into the sports nutrition. Because back in the day, we had Weeder, we had liver pills, and nothing tasted good. It was you mixing a protein shake. You needed a blender, a fork, and a straw,
And a grinder.
Yes, yes. And you drink it just as quickly as you drank it. It went out.
Yeah.
And then he opened the door.
ESPN wrote a book called Steroid Nation and gave Dan credit for starting the steroid craze in America. They did.
Yeah,
That's
he
your
opened
guy.
the door. Yeah,
Yeah. That's my guy.
I remember wasn't he the first pre-workout?
He was.
First pre-workout for sale.
Well, they called him the
And it was
steroid.
meth.
They
It
carried
was
the-
steroids. Yes.
he wrote the Underground Steroid Handbook, and that's probably the original that's worth money.
And that's the one that's worth money. It's worth a ton of money.
Yeah.
What was that? Ultimate Orange.
Oh, Ultimate Orange was ultimate, but man, did it have every steroid available at the time.
Yes. That's why I was a 19-year-old kid drinking that, talking about, I can lift the world. Not realizing I had D-ball and Anadrol
Oh man.
in one tea.
You were taking the best cycle available.
Yes. You factor in there was a pure ephedrine and caffeine to go with it. Yes.
Okay, I'll tell a story on me. I met with Jeff Feliciano. I took my brother. We met with Jeff. I was working at a gym called Flex It with my friend Roy Latimer, and met with Jeff before the workout. And he came in and he looked so buzzed. He goes, "Yeah, I was making my own crank, and I've been up for 3 days. I can't come down." And my brother's like, "Tell him this is the guy you trusted for your drugs." I go, "It is."
He's messing up. He's not going to do it to me.
Yeah, right.
Ultimate Orange literally had a label on the back that says, "You will fail a drug test."
Well, I told you about that. I took Ultimate Orange like every single day before football practice
Oh.
and twice on game days.
Oh yeah, you were a stud.
I was.
So Steve, this is funny, and I know we're 8 minutes into our show, but I just found out a new blood doping drug. There's a girl that it was the #1 tennis player in the world. She got popped for Roxad, Roxadustat, and it says the anti-drug WADA is saying that it increases the endogenous production of a word I can't pronounce and stimulates the production of hemoglobin and red blood cells in the bone marrow. That's blood doping.
Yes.
I mean, it's interesting how, it like you said,
There's nothing new under the
there's
sun.
nothing new under the sun.
They're trying to figure out how to reinvent it. Like your body only has so many hormones. You only have so many
Right.
chromosomes. It's only going to be able to do so much. And they find something that works so great. And now they have to figure a way to do that again, but not get caught.
Just to make it look different.
I can't get caught when I do it. So I got to.
It's not blue, it's green now.
Bingo. But hot stuff. You remember hot stuff?
I remember hot stuff.
Hot stuff was chocolate milk with steroids. It was the only protein powder that you could gain 15 pounds off a jug of protein powder. It was made in Mexico.
Wow.
So when he got caught, he didn't get into trouble.
They poured in the Dianabol, ground it up,
Yes.
threw in some Nestle's no, not that.
Yeah, don't say Nancy, but it was
pretty
It was
close.
just powdered. It was powdered milk with drugs, and we would sell. I used to be the manager at GNC when I was young. We couldn't keep it on the shelf.
Wait, when were you the manager at GNC?
what was
year?
that? 91, 92, 93, right in there somewhere.
Okay, so that was before my time.
Yes.
Yeah, he was selling the bougie supplements.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
mine was like started about probably 97.
Right when I started working at GNC is right when the Wild Wild West started,
Okay.
where there was this drug that they were just putting drugs in products and just dropping them.
Yeah.
Oh, I used to spend a fortune at GNC.
Yeah, GNC used to be cutting edge.
Yeah.
That's how they made their-
Now nobody even shops there.
Yeah.
Are they even a business anymore?
They're like the vitamin shop A.
Yes, yes.
They're not. They don't have that good of a reputation.
Yes. Like what was that? The herbal
still shop
fin.
there.
We had herbal fin. We'd sell like 500 bottles of herbal fin, which basically was meth,
Yeah.
but herbs.
Right.
It was meth. Like, oh, I lost 50 pounds. Oh, you're a meth
of
addict.
course you did.
My tooth fell out as well.
Oh, that's so cool.
So you wanted to talk about the real heavy duty effect?
we want to talk about legs today.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Now, he's still
that was one of the
sporting the
subjects,
legs.
right?
I love that. You know, I'm gonna save that. We'll save that to the conversation of legs.
Okay.
We're gonna save that for a certain
Very
spot.
specific point.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Steve's got it all planned out.
Yeah. Well, there again, as there again, guys, I can't believe it's been, gosh, I'm 65, so I retired from bodybuilding at 27. So that's, I mean, it's so funny. I've had 2 lifetimes since that.
Yeah, that was 40 years ago almost.
Yeah, it's just crazy. And so it's hard to think about.
That's like longer than I've been alive almost.
Thank you for reminding me of
Yeah,
that.
you're welcome.
But some people say it's just a number, but it's not.
I mean, it's definitely longer than all these guys been alive.
But yeah, so it is. I mean, but the things have never, like you said, Steve, never changed. And I love on your TikTok, which we're going to save, that it says you got to put the work in. And I don't think anything's more important than legs when you got to put the work in. And I don't know anybody that starts out loving legs.
No.
You love to hate legs.
I always loved leg day.
I'm sure you did.
We'll do some hundreds. See how you feel about that.
All right.
I'm not sure Mike understands that because you haven't put him on a real leg day yet that he's finished.
Well, yeah.
I told you when you got your first workout, he goes, Tom, I'm really sore. And I go, yeah. He goes, how come you didn't give me workouts just like this? And I go, because I'm still your friend. I go, Steve's not worried about me keeping you as a friend.
No, you asked me to build it.
Yeah.
Let's go to work.
And when he said, yeah, that's a beginner workout. I didn't really give you a workout yet. I was like, oh, okay. No, I'm
Pretty much.
hang my head in shame.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, there again, leg day would scare me, Steve. I would legitimately think about it the night before. Like tomorrow, I could truly hurt myself.
I learned I loved it.
Oh, I love
it. Hurts my feelings that I can't go like that anymore. Like it's like a deep pain in here.
You know what it is? My grandpa used to train some quarter horse racehorses, and he said the saddest thing was to put a older horse out in the inner field where they would run the other horses around because they would always race with the other horses, but it was just sad because they still felt they could run. They felt like they could still run with the horses, and you think back and you think, man, I can't do that.
I used to love to grind people up.
Oh, man.
That was you want to do legs with me? Oh, you don't plan on living, huh? All right, cool. I used to love to watch people fall on the floor and laugh and then move up. So, have you ever watched Pumping Iron, where Arnold kicks Franco out of the way so he can go squat?
Yeah.
Pretty much. I move.
All right, now I got to put it on my movies to watch.
Yes, and that's how I enjoy it. I mean,
It's a sickness, really is. You get to a point where you get a little tilted.
because there's nothing that feels. There's bench pressing, there's deadlifting, but there's nothing like feeling that bar just cave across your body.
And then the force of coming up from the bottom. you know. And
watching people's jaws drop when you just look and smile and go, oh, I'm going to do this about another 15 times.
Or after you get to 4 plates, you're putting on the end and you rack on the fifth plate. You know, I mean, it's territory. It's like going where no men have gone before. That's the scary part, and the part that can really get hurt. I remember when one of the first real gyms I went into, there was a separate room for, you know, it's just funny when you get to 315 and you put it on the bar and you think you're doing well, but there's another room that you can't go into because they're really squatting in there. And most of the bars are bent inside that room.
And that's where, like, when I watch a lot of things, there are certain people that I just, like, I know how amazingly strong I was blessed to be. And then I see certain people like Ray. Have you seen that gentleman, Ray? Oh, he's 1,000-pound squatter, and he does it. He just does it religiously. And I know what 800 feels like naked on your back, and I know that feeling. And I'm like, that's
walking back is just kind of a great feeling, isn't it?
But my brain's going. He walks back with 1,000 routinely.
Isn't that crazy?
Like,
doesn't it actually hurt your?
No, you build up.
Yeah. With time you get there, you got amazing traps that have a groove right there.
Because that's not the only thing you're working
I remember bench pressing. I could hold 600 with no wrist wraps. And then when I took about 4 years off and I put 3 in my hand, my forearms hurt. And I was like, what is that about?
I remember when Ronnie Coleman squatted 8, you know, legitimately as a bodybuilder. I mean, there again, the one thing that I always had a problem with, because I came from Bakersfield. When I walked into Gold's Gym in Venice when I was 18 years old, I'd already been in Bakersfield. And being from Bakersfield, you have to lift weights. Because when you went to the Y, there was only one gym in town. So everybody was there. I mean, bodybuilding was a side effect from powerlifting. People are like, what are you going to do with those funny muscles that no one's, that have no use? Well, I'll flex them, you know. Of course, that wasn't thought of back then. But I always had a hard time going down. And, you know, when you transition and make a decision to go into bodybuilding from powerlifting, everybody always give you a hard time because, you know, they always say you're all show, no go. And I was like, no, I am. Like, how much weight do you want to put on? Let's rack the bar. I remember my friend Roy Lydelmeyer and I went down there, and the Barbarian brothers, Peter and David, were still alive. And I think Peter's still alive.
Those two dudes put on a spectacle.
They would. But we would always beef because we were over there and they were dead in 405. And Roy and I bumped in and we said, hey, can we work in with you too? And they go, yeah, but you can't take the weight off. I go, we're doing bent over rows. And we did. We came in and we repped out 10 and they walked off. You guys, you could check with my friend Roy Latimer.
That is,
and that was more Roy's beef with them than me. And I was politically still okay, but Roy, you know you were.
And that's the great thing that people don't light up. People don't understand this sickness.
Oh, they don't.
Like it's a one-up world. Like I would have to look for people to figure a way to motivate myself, and heaven forbid, I mean, the average person could come squat next to me, and I took it personal. I legitimately would take it in. Why are you squatting? Why I'm squatting right now? There should be nobody in this area.
Or you walk in the gym and somebody's over there just 2 1/4.
I have gone and sat on a chair behind somebody because you're in my rack, and it's horrible. I'm a different person, but back then, I remember I got kicked out the gym because the guy at the front desk said, I'm not going to allow you to work out, and I said, good luck with that. And I went to work out.
But there again, so your question was
the real heavy duty principle.
Yeah.
The real heavy duty principle. I've gotten in a couple debates about it. The real heavy duty principle, for you that aren't there, heavy duty principle is Mike Mintzer's
and
Ray's philosophy.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace, guys, because you proved a system, but not everybody can do it.
Philosophy on lifting.
Yes.
But I'm going to say a quick little tidbit on it because I love the heavy duty philosophy.
I do too.
But the problem is Mike and Ray, and I'll let you get these are your peers.
I hate to talk bad about the deceased. I
won't let you. I'll let you keep it from talking.
I never would talk bad about them, but I don't agree with them. We had many discussions at the gym.
Most people view heavy duty as that little 45-minute window.
Yeah.
They don't go and check that there's a whole nother hour in front of that 45-minute window of actually bodybuilding.
Yes.
Like you get to do your heavy lift at the end, and they would only count that portion at the end. And I'm going to shut my mouth and relay this to you on what they were actually doing.
Well, as we all know, that you just can't go into that heavy training method without a lot of warm up, a lot of pre-exercises before you get there, because you're going to get hurt. I mean, usually that's when we get hurt, isn't it, Steve? I remember the time I hurt my knee the first time. It's because I walked in there and I was late, so the guys were already up there, and I said, "Hey, don't worry, I'll work in." And we were at 405, and I felt my knee twinge without hitting the 2 1/4, starting out with a 145, 2 1/4, but bouncing it up to 315, just going through the motion, getting the clean reps, getting the blood flowing. And so that's the thing that people wouldn't see the Minsters doing before they went into the screaming and yelling in the gym, dropping the heavy weight on, doing the negatives, doing the the lift up and the negatives down, and which is something that
it's bodybuilding. Yes,
you have to
force reps.
Yep.
You have to do force reps in order to grow.
You have to do them.
You have to lift when it comes to bodybuilding. You have to lift when your body said no, we can't.
Yes. Well, it's those reps, Steve, and I think we've always talked about it, that really count.
Yes.
Sometimes it's that, if you're doing 3 sets of 10, it's the 27th rep of the third set that really brings you into the growth zone. Those first 2 sets are getting you there, right? And then when you can't push it up and somebody's helping you, that's what happens. But you can't do that all the time.
And not to mention, you have to be able to sell it.
Yes.
So I believe that the heavy duty was just a way for them to sell it.
There was a beef back then, and this I'll ride the middle because you had Frank Zane's physique coming on the scene, and everybody knows the '80 Olympia was one that they don't even like to talk about. It's just like what do we think? I don't know. I had a lot of friends. I didn't go to Australia. Had a lot of people come back very upset. And Mike was one of them, because Arnold entered the show late on. And he wasn't in his best condition. Just watch the show. Arnold was not in his best condition. A lot of people said he shouldn't have won. Hey, I wasn't there. I don't make money on this sport anymore, and you can choose for yourself. And I do believe Mike was in better shape, but I thought Tom Platz looked incredible also. So I'm not sure if you wouldn't have had Arnold if somebody else would have won. But you hear the fights coming back in, because Frank had a very nice aesthetic physique. Looked great, but his arms were 16 and a half inches. So as we all know, bodybuilding is is an industry.
Yes.
You're trying to find out the trend that people are going. I still think they're trying to figure it out right now after the mass monsters are trying to figure out which way to go. Aesthetics, they say, are in, but I don't know how you can rein back in a sport like this. I mean, good luck. I mean, I'm not involved anymore. I don't make money for the sport anymore. I don't even want to. I can talk about the early days. So that's what I'm saying. You've got a battle now of Frank Zane having a very aesthetic, pleasing physique, and he doesn't lift heavy. I mean, he'll lift heavy within his frame or lift heavy to develop muscle. He did a lot when he won Mr. America. He is the only bodybuilder in America that beat Arnold. So, I mean, we'll put it that way.
So what was the deal with Arnold? Why would he have won that? And
political. Money, because he's undefeated. I mean, he's Mr. Olympia.
Not to mention, he just made that movie.
Yep. Yeah, you need a
Pumping Iron? Or?
No, he was already
Stay Hungry. Wasn't it Stay Hungry?
Was it Stay Hungry? I thought he was. I thought he was already in to the Conan Terminator run.
Yeah.
So he was just famous.
Yeah.
He was getting ready to be.
No one really knew him until Pumping Iron.
He was getting ready to be the most famous bodybuilder on the planet.
Yep, because he's in the movies. So there's a money side of this business. I mean, I think we've all been placed lower than we figured we should be on a scorecard. Everyone's got their own beast.
But at the end of the day, it's figurative. It's just completely.
So the whole idea, Mike, is that you got the mincers going from this heavy duty workout, and they're always wearing the heavy duty shirts, but they're portraying a workout that most people can do. Like Steve said, the theory you've got to do. Everybody's going to do the theory. You're going to lift heavier, which is heavy duty.
Right.
But you're not going to do it the way they perform it all the time. If you want to argue with me, guys, I was there. I lived this era.
And that's why I did. You were in the gym when they were working out.
Yes.
So you can't argue with somebody who was like, hey, look, there they go right there. I'm watching them do their sets.
Yes. So you can't live there without getting hurt. And I think that's the biggest fallacy, that if you're out there and you're young, if you're going to read the magazines, you're going to do that stuff. You're going to, all the magazines lie. Guys, if you're out there and you're making your living in the magazines, good luck with that. But I'm just saying, I lived that life. I was a weeder guy. I signed my contract with Weeder when I was young, and I got out a weeder guy. That's just the way it is. But it's all about money. It is all about dough. And so I've had articles that I wasn't even sure I gave the interview because it wasn't me talking. People would go, oh man, you did this. I go, never done that in my life. Never ever done that in my life. So when we came out with hundreds, I've said this on the show before. Joe Weeder said, Tom, that's the Weeder ultimate pump workout. I go, whatever, Joe. Really. If you want to take credit for it, take credit for it.
And that goes back to what we were saying. The wheel.
Yeah.
It's nothing new.
Nothing's new under the sun.
No, because Mike Minter actually got that from, what was it, Arthur Doyle?
Uh-huh.
And Arthur Doyle got it from, I went down the rabbit hole. I can't remember who there's a guy even in front of him that he got it from.
Yeah, and you have all the greats.
That's just marketing. That's the marketing world, right? I very well know that, right?
And that's what the heavy-duty principle.
You just take the same thing somebody else already had and you just call it something different.
Bingo, heavy-duty lifting.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, Steve, as we go down this, I still get credit for hundreds. They give me out there, and it was a new theory. And Rory, we did it together, and everybody got mad at me because they broke the story on me. And Dan Duchesne did it, and it was, we're just talking about it, and we were talking about something. He goes, "You do anything different?" And I go, "We're doing hundreds," and he goes, "Huh?" And so the article was supposed to be about something else, and Dan goes, "I'm writing about hundreds." And so you can pick it up. I'll drop the.
That was one of my favorite things to finish with.
Yeah, and so, but it's not the all work. I tell people, if you're not on great drugs and blood doping, you're not going to get the best out of hundreds. Yeah. You need an extra pint of blood in your body to really make this thing work. Just saying.
I haven't done hundreds since I stopped competing. And that's how I used to finish every single workout.
I haven't done it since I gave up anabolic steroids.
Every single workout was finished with hundreds. I was like, 100 reps? Oh, I need to do that because if I can still move, then I'm not done.
Yeah. In 1987, I forewent anabolics, and I did the 87 Nationals, with just HGH and some diuretics, so a lot of people will check me on that one. But I was anabolic free. I was. And I was happy with my placing. I placed 11th, and I was happy with that. And but anabolics are something that the industry is still doing. So, Steve, when you went into the gym and you worked your way up, would you ever, and I know a lot of things have evolved since then. We've got super suits and sleeves and things like that. But there was a feeling when you would back away. Did you use red lines for the reps, or did you just do regular reps? Or, red lines were kind of getting big, And
what is red lines?
They're knee wraps, and I'm not sure knee wraps are the good for your knees.
Okay.
But because they froze your knee in place, and I'm not sure that was good. But it's what helped us aid in lifting in those days.
I used absolutely nothing. I didn't put on a lifting belt.
Well, that's the cool thing, because the big thing for us back then was to have a nice belt. I still have my belt.
Yes.
The one I got when I was 17.
Do I wish I'd have put on a belt? Me and this hernia do. But it was.
But you're young. You're strong.
Coming out of the strength and health gym.
Yeah.
It was, if you got to put all that on, you really can't lift it. And that was, if you couldn't bench press and just, it was called naked. If you could not lift it naked, you can't pick I got to hand you your dumbbells. You can't lift those. Go pick something you can actually pick up.
Don't wrap it.
It was, and that was the mentality and then I remember the first time I used a wrist wrap, I was done by the first time I used the wrist wrap. And I was like, oh, that sucks. It was just like, this is so much easier with a wrist wrap on. I was done, but the strength curve was gone. I was in my 40s when I put a wrist wrap on. The first time I used a pair of sleeves, I was in my 40s, and I was like,
what are the technology is pretty amazing. Well, it is, because some of the best feelings when you're training legs heavy is being able to walk back. And a lot of people will focus on squats with leg day. And I'm not sure that's the ultimate quad builder. It's a necessary movement. But doggone it, with me, my butt would grow, Steve. And I had no problem in that area anyways. And so then it became hard to fit into clothes. Steve, I had to lift during the days where there was no hack press. Our hack presses were the ones that you had to hold on to at the bottom. So you would have to hold on to the weight, and your wrist would give out before your legs would give out. So, it was like we never thought about the shoulder thing. And it's funny how that seems obvious nowadays. There was no leg presses. So you had to, the first leg press, Steve, was a Smith machine.
I was going to say, you guys laid them down. Every time I see that, I think I like life, and that just says life is over. Like all I see is just tragedy.
But as we did it through the Smith machine, then we thought, well, we'll just move our toes out and do calf.
Just death. That's all I see is death. Like, what is that? What's that movie? 1,000 Ways to Die, or the other one where people were just mysteriously dying in the tanning beds.
What it was the first Olympic bar on rails, and so everybody's like, "Holy smokes, we'll figure out 10 other things that you should never do with this."
Basically, you're laying on your back and just putting your feet in the air and putting a bar on your foot.
Oh, man.
And you're looking at it, pushing it up off the air while you're looking at the bar.
That's scary.
And there is no faces of
right? Yeah. Okay, no, I know what you're talking about. Faces of death.
There is no brace in the middle.
Yes, no.
It's
terrifying.
Yeah, bingo. I like life.
It was. I don't know the original intent for the machine.
So they didn't like somebody. It was like, they die.
Right.
But I don't like this person.
But things kept evolving.
Yes.
From that. And I think as you have the hack squat now, nice, and you have the leg press.
I have the one I want to use that I've never used is the pendulum.
What's that?
Oh, it's squatting without not having to squat. You set it on your shoulders. It's got an arm.
Has it got two little things, an arm like this?
And you're coming from an angle like this, and you're standing it back up. Oh, wow. I just looking at the thing, I'm like, that looks like a way I could still feed my ego and be like, look, I got 4 or 5 plates on this side again, Mom. It just looked, Mom, without having to actually put pressure on directs, because we have the hip loaded one, and I hate it because all it does is dig into my groin, and I'm just like, I can't stand this stupid thing. But it's another way to get the weight off your back. But it's just the way the belt squat. It just doesn't work for me. I don't know if maybe I'm just built wrong or something. I just hate it.
I tried the other day where you take the where you put the Olympic bar in the little sleeve, and then you try to put it up here and squat. Hurt my back. I saw somebody do it, and I go, oh, that's interesting. Yeah. And so I went over to try it, and I was like, that's a bad idea. I did. I honestly, because I don't wear a belt anymore. I mean, it's just a negative for me nowadays because I've got my hernias, and it's just too much at risk at 65. I'm just like, but I did look at that machine, and I went, huh. My wife noticed me gimping, and she goes, what'd you do today? I go,
when you look up the pendulum, you're going to go, oh, you're going to see, your brain's going to go, I bet you I got to put some wheels on there.
Oh man. And I shouldn't. So Steve, as you got some people out there listening, you have to lift heavy.
Yes.
And people, that's a fallacy, because you're always going to have to lift heavy within your form, within the set rep system, right? I mean,
well, we said it on the last episode. Bodybuilding is ugly. Mm-hmm. Heavy is ugly. You have to, if you don't make a face while you're doing legs,
and a few noises.
If you haven't gone
voluntary or involuntary,
if you haven't gone to the bottom and questioned life or whether or not can I come back up without soiling my pants, you haven't squatted right.
Oh yeah.
There's nothing like going down going, oh, that's an interesting come up.
I'll never forget.
Racking and duck walking away.
Yeah. Well, I was at Gold Gym Venice, and a friend of mine was there. We were training about 8 and 9 o'clock at night, and it was dark outside. And I know he put 405 on the bar and backed away, and the lights went out. there was a power outage. And I just backed away and I go, I don't care what you do now.
Good luck, everybody.
All around the gym, you heard just weights, everybody unloading weight,
Yes.
And so the power didn't come on, but I mean, it was funny because I just heard it rack, and I just said, I'm out. Don't worry about me. But I'm saying those are the fun times,
Yes.
as you do. I was leaving off that squat is one exercise, and we're talking about it. But if you want to develop some wheels, and I think every generation has a few. Tom Platz is the quad father. I think Tom was the original quad father, and I still think he's out there, Tom Platz, and I knew Tom Platz. He's a good dude. And there again, he had some amazing quads. But then you had other guys come up. We were talking about my friend Paul DeMeo, who's died. He was Quadzilla. And nowadays, what are the young guys' names that are coming up with amazing quads?
I can't give any of them credit.
I got you.
I mean, legitimately, I thought Ramy was the next guy, the next big quad guy, until it was about 4 Olympias back before he started winning. He walked on stage, and you could tell they were just oiled up. I really have such
oil's really hurt the sport, hasn't it?
It's really given me a disdain for most of professional bodybuilding, because I like bodybuilding because you go work for it, you build it.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we take all these different things to build it, so it sounds kind of sacrilegious when I say I hate certain things or dislike certain things, because it causes these different things. Like, it's ugly to me. Mm-hmm. It like, you look at most modern bodybuilders, they're all smooth. They don't have that grainy density that's just like I mean, and I have to blame Ronnie. Because Ronnie, after his second or third Olympia, he didn't come in grainy anymore. He just came in huge.
Just started a new look.
And the reason I have to blame Ron is because nobody could keep up with him.
Yeah.
That was just a whole special. Like, he walked in, and it was. I mean, Jay was the closest thing, but Jay was 30 pounds lighter than him. People don't realize how much smaller Jay was than Ronnie.
I'd never been to another bodybuilding show, after I got out, just watched it in the magazine. It is definitely different when you're there watching them. Oh. I remember one time my friend Roy Lydelmeyer and I were in Reno, and we were there for a convention and stuff. And Roy and I went to the gym and worked out. And there's a few people that can verify the story for me. But Jim Mannion was having an athletes meeting, and Roy and I just worked out. We came in, and I'm big, but Roy's 305. He's in a tank top, and Lee happened to be the Lee Haney. And Lee, you probably remember this date. But we walked in there, and we walked into the wrong room. They were having an athletes meeting because they were having the USA the next day. And Roy was just this man monster, and Lee was there, and everybody said, "Hey, Lee, stand next to Roy." And there again, Lee was out of season, and so Roy, after a few people asked him to stand next to Roy, he's like, "I'm not effing standing next to Roy," But I'm just saying, it was just our version. You're just talking, Roy at 6'1", 305, and just looked amazing, and then Lee was out of not in contest shape. So that's being relative. So when you're talking about these guys, and Jay Cutler's 30, 40 pounds lighter than
Big Ronnie.
Yeah, I mean, that's
the
cool.
oil is the only way anybody could keep up with Ronnie. That was the truth. And then it just I think the greatest bodybuilder to me that ever got robbed, and there's a lot of great ones that got robbed, I think Kai. I
agree with you. I honestly, I was mesmerized by his physique.
Oh my goodness! Did you ever get to see him in person?
No, I never did.
I've bodybuilding. I've loved it, watched it, been to all these different things. That is the only person that walked out on the stage, and I stopped watching the show. Mm. Like, legitimately stopped watching the show. He was standing off to the side. I was fixated on his body, where I was just like, wow. And I just think that is one gentleman that should have had at least one.
I respect him because he quit competing on his own terms. What was it? A couple times he felt like maybe he was placed a little lower than he should have been, and just says, "I'm tapping out." You know,
It was,
and I think he did a great job going on to some acting stuff.
From what you probably know more than me, but from what he has said, they were going to charge him for a booth, and they were giving Phil the booth for free. And he's like, I put just as many people in the seats as he does.
Yes, I agree.
And pretty much he was saying, I've won, so I deserve a booth just like he deserves the booth. And they said no, and he's like, oh well.
You know, Steve, we talked about bodybuilding so many times, and I'm gonna say it, and you can disagree with me out there if you want to, but it's all about the day and the time and the luck of coming in shape for the victory and the loss. It really is. I remember when they told us the first time we were going to compete in a 2-day show, I was like, what? We got to stay in shape 2 days? And I was like, that's impossible. I go, if I'm going to hit my peak, I'm lucky if I can take a blindfold and hit it,
That 2 days, you kind of have to pick a good day and a bad day, correct?
If you want to win the class, you got to be looking great. But if you want to win the overall, you got to be looking good. So if you're going to win and not be 100%, you there's got to be some not as good competitors with you. Because if you're going to win less than 100, and then if you come back the next day to be in as good a shape, there again, if we go back to the 82.
I couldn't imagine peaking for 48 hours.
In the amateur ranks, and there again, amateur to pro is just a matter of semantics. But I know the 82 nationals, Roy and Bobby Paris, they go back and forth. And my friend Mike Christian was in that one. But Bobby looked better on the first day. Roy looked better on the second. And I can't complain. I've looked at Roy in the face and said, hey, dude, you nailed it second day. But second day wasn't the show. Bobby won the class after the first day and won the overall with the shape that he was in the second day. So many people complain, but that's what you get from a 2-day show.
Yep.
And I don't know how the guys stay in the shape for that. I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know how they do it. I mean, kudos to you guys. Tommy couldn't do it.
I like food too much.
Huh? I tell you, I'm the underachieving Mr. California. I will carry that title to the grave. So it is. So we're going to come back and do another show on lifting and legs.
That's just the way it should be. Another show on legs. I mean, legs shouldn't be done on one day.
Well, that's the next question that we're going to open up the next show with.
I was going to say maybe we should save that for part 2, huh?
Yes,
that is.
Yeah. Well,
that's our cliffhanger.
Well, Steve, wouldn't you agree that and then I come from an era where legs, if you legs were just coming on. We know Arnold's era was always getting knocked for it. Those guys had great quads, but they had lousy hams.
Bingo.
So we'll talk about that on the next show.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks for watching, guys.
Yep.